do with Parent Summit Africa is to help parents experience an awakening that will cause them to take a part to creating a change in themselves individually, as well as commit to raising a wholesome 21st century child. And as we do this collectively, we are building the kind of society that we want to see. Our mission with the Parent Summit Africa is to create a platform that equips parents with the skills, strategies, and resources for self-transformation and raising wholesome children. Our vision is to effect social and societal change through parenting education, especially to change the narrative of Africa and the African child. Hi, my name is Vivian Okoye. I'm the convener of Parent Summit Africa. I'm a certified child psychologist, a parent coach, and a trained doctor of optometry. Parent Summit Africa is powered by our online parenting school, the Vivian Okoye Parenting Academy. We started Parent Summit Africa in 2017 to gather parents from all over the nation and beyond to start up relevant conversations around raising a wholesome 21st century child, as well as thinking about our contribution to sustainable development and nation building. Hi. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the final session of Parent Summit Africa 2024. If you have been on this journey with us, thank you for being on this journey with us. Thank you for being at the sessions, all the sessions. Thank you for sharing. Please kindly share, kindly invite your friends. This is our final session, and we're talking about understanding children and adolescent mental health and navigating how you, as a parent, can support your child, right? How can you support your child as a parent? What is children? What is mental health in children? What is mental health in adolescents? Please, if you can hear me, please let me know in the chat. I like to know where you're joining us from. I like to know um, who you are, your name, if you can hear me, and where you're joining us from. Welcome, Rebecca. Welcome. Where are you joining us from? Welcome, Bridget. Welcome back. Thank you for joining. Welcome, Casey. Thank you for joining. Casey says loud and clear. So, yeah, we're talking about understanding your child's development and mental health. I had to put development here because um, development and your understanding of it and how you're showing up for your child during different stages of development can determine how they progress with their mental health and mental well-being, right? And I really suck at making presentation slides, so bear with me. Welcome, Chooks. Welcome, Bridget. So my name, if we're meeting for the first time, because I know that a lot of people have joined the summit from different places, and this might be the first time that you're meeting me. So if we are meeting for the first time, my name is Dr. Vivian Okoye, and I am the convener of Parent Summit Africa. A little about me, right? My first training was as a doctor of optometry, and I practiced clinically and community health for about 7 years. But then they say when you're called, you're called. Then I transitioned to go study psychology, and I got my master's degree here in the UK in clinical psychology, and my research is in developmental psychology and neurodivergence. We talked a bit about neurodivergence yesterday, if you were on the session yesterday. I'm also a trained trauma therapist, and aside running Parent Summit and the Academy, I am currently serving as an assistant regional lead to an organization called Nudge, where we work with young people and children to navigate mental health challenges and, if it has impacted their education and their being in school, right? I am also a lead trainer on a charity here in the UK called Afrikindness, where I lead the neurodiversity and inclusion team, and I serve as on a few boards as their governing team. I serve on the executive team and governing board for a few organizations. So that's a little bit about me. And I would say that I have worked with families and children in the last 8 years. And some of the things I'm going to be sharing is bits and bits of experiences of working with families and children across economic status, across cultural settings, right? So I have worked with families and children in Nigeria. I would say a few bits and bits from other African countries. I have worked in the past couple of years with children in England, right? Predominantly British children. And I'm a people observer, people watcher. I study patterns and I study behaviors, thanks to my psychology background, and also my personality has a lot to do with that. So that is why we're having this conversation. I find that a lot of parents do not understand the impact of day-to-day experiences that children have, and how those day-to-day experiences can impact on their mental health. And when we're ignorant of this, it can really, really deteriorate into things that we will now become things that need big intervention, will now become things that will need therapy, will now become things that will need you to get someone in to intervene, or get a professional in to intervene. But in the real sense of it, if we actually do what we can, or if we have the knowledge, if we have the awareness, and we do what we should do as parents, and show up in the way that we should show up as parents, and create the kind of environment that we should create for our children, then it wouldn't get to that point, right? Children will face challenges. Like Irene rightly said, we're not raising children, we're not sheltering them. Maybe a lot of us are doing that, but no matter how we shelter our children, but they would eventually go into the world. They will face challenges, things will happen to them. We want to equip them to be able to navigate through life, to be able to navigate through challenges, to be able to navigate through the stresses of life, and to be able to come out unscathed, to not allow those things swallow them and break them, right? Even as an adult right now, you're on social media, you come on social media every day, and if you go through the comments of social media of the popular blogs in Nigeria, for example, you can see how mean people have become. You can literally post your picture on social media and have people raining insults on you for just being yourself. Then imagine that this is a space where your child is going to come into, if they are not already in that space. If you have older children, teenagers, this is the space where they come into. These are the information, the kind of people that they interact with. These are the kind of information, the kind of experiences that will be thrown at them. How are we equipping our children to then navigate these scenarios? As we progress into this conversation, there are two mindsets or three mindsets that I need you to discard, and then there are three others that I need you to adopt. Number one mindset I need you to discuss, and this might be a program running in your subconscious that you don't even know. Number one is that children do not experience mental health issues, that they're just acting out, right? You need to discard that mindset if that is something, a question, or a mindset or a belief that you're holding. I want you to bring it to your awareness and to let it go. If you're thinking, actually, what are children suffering from? Actually, what are they going through? Are they not just in the house eating food, and that what is the mental health struggle? What is the stress that they're going through? I know that this is an average Nigerian or an average African parents might have this mindset. So I want you to discuss it, because truly your children are facing stresses as well. Maybe looking through your adult mind, you may not see those stresses as stresses, but to them as children, those things are stresses. A A young child or a preteen or a teenager who is not being accepted in school, it's overwhelming for them. They're asking themselves, why don't people like me? Is it that I'm not good enough? Why doesn't and this person want to be my friend? Why doesn't this person want to play with me? That is a life stress. A child who is being bullied, that is a life stress. A child who is not passing or doing well in school, that is a life stress. A child who is being constantly compared with peers or their sibling, that is a life stress that, if not handled properly, can deteriorate into things. And I have seen, trust me, in the course of my work, I have seen children whom some of these things can lead to severe challenges, even to the extent of self-harming, to the extent of contemplating suicide. So don't undermine any experience that your child is having and saying, please come off it, please suck it up. Always understand that even two children, if you have two children, both of them would respond or react to things, to stresses, to challenges differently. So don't ever say children do not experience mental health issues. Another one I want you to discard, another mindset I want you to discard, is that mental health challenge is a Western or affluent people's problem, right? That's another mindset that come up to the basic African parents when we talk about mental health, right? Oh, mental health, what are we talking about? Mental health challenge is Oyibo problem, is rich people's problem. Please, let's discard that. I have seen, like I have told you, I have done charity work, I have worked with different families across different economic gaps, and I can tell you that across the board, children suffer the same things. Children have experiences of mental health. So don't ever think that it's a Western problem. It might look like it's a Western problem because there is more awareness, there is more acceptance. So children are able to come up and say, this is what I'm struggling with, this is what I'm dealing with, I need help with this. And there is a system to provide that support. There's the statistics that say 1 in 7 children go through mental health challenges. And mostly in Africa, children are going through mental health challenges, but they're not speaking to anyone because they don't even know, or the people that they have or the support system that they have would hush them when they speak about it, and there are no systems to support. And this is the more reason why you as a parent should be aware, so that you even prevent these things from occurring, right? You support and boost your child's mental strength so that it doesn't things challenges do not throw them off balance to the point that it will then deteriorate into a mental health challenge or a mental health disorder, right? Another mindset I want you to discard as we dive into this conversation is that good parenting alone prevents mental health. That is wrong. There are amazing parents. I have seen parents who have done amazing things. They were there for their children, they did what they could, they were present parents, but still their children navigated through challenging times with their mental health, right? I have seen a mom who was a present mom. In fact, she was a stay-at-home mom, and she was present. She wasn't just a stay-at-home mom who was just at home not being present. She was a present mom. But at the age of 19, the child left home, got into school, and got into addiction. Unfortunately, started taking drugs, got addicted, and it went into a whole lot of things, right? So good parenting alone is not your guarantee that the child will not struggle through mental health. It helps, right? But your understanding of what mental health challenges look like, and your understanding of how to show up and how to be present and how to support your child is what would help in navigating these challenges. Then there are other mindsets that I need you to adopt, right? I want you to adopt the mindset that every child's development is unique and there is no one size fits all. So no matter what we share, no matter what we have been sharing in the course of this summit, right? These methods or these strategies or these tips that we're sharing should be adapted If you have ever been in my classes, if you have been in our community, then you would have heard me say over and over again, it's about the child in front of you. What is the child struggling with? What is their behavior telling you? What is their emotion telling you? What are they telling you themselves? And those information, as you stay curious, as you try to problem solve, will then show you how you can show up to that specific child in front of you. Even if you have 5 children, not one size, not one method fits all. You show up to each child differently. I mean, Irene, who just finished spoken, told us the differences between her first daughter and her second daughter. The same thing with my daughter and my son, two different personalities. How I show up for my son, who is very sensitive, is different for how I show up for my daughter, who has more self leadership, right? So, different approach for different children, right? And the second mindset I want you to understand, I want you to adopt, is that you as a parent play a pivotal role in shaping your child's mental and emotional well-being. So the journey that you're walking with your child from the moment they are born to the moment when they become an adult and leave your house should be geared towards equipping them to be mentally strong, should be geared towards feeding them, feeding their emotions, and nurturing their mental well-being, right? And finally, I want you to know that building mental strength in children is a proactive process, right? Very, very proactive process. You have to be very proactive. You have to think on your toes. You have to have your eyes open. You have to have your hands ready. You have to have your heart in all of it, right? Parenting is with your whole body, your mind, your spirit, your soul. You have to be present. And I mean, I don't want to go into talking. I will just touch a bit about talking about what mental health is, what mental strength is, right? But Irene did a lot of justice to that. And when we talk about mental strength, right, by definition, it is the ability to for somebody to be able to manage their thoughts, how you think, to manage their emotions, how you feel, and to manage their behaviors, your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors, to overcome challenges. That's number one, to achieve goals and to thrive in different aspects of your life, right? So when mental strength is weak, it then predisposes a person to mental health challenges. So if you're not able to manage your thoughts, if you're not able to manage your emotions, if you're not able to manage your behaviors, things would overwhelm you easily. Things will overcome you easily. You will react in ways that do not benefit you, right? If imagine if you acted on your feelings every time. Imagine if you're not able to think straight, you're not able to process your thoughts, you're acting irrationally. Imagine if every small thing that triggers you causes you to behave in a certain type of way. Then that is when your mental strength is poor, and then it predisposes you to struggling with your mental health, if that is to say. And mental health simply means, just like you have physical health, your body can tell you, oh I'm tired, I'm weak, you know and you go to hospital to check it out. That's the same thing mental health is the quality of your mind, the quality of your thinking, the quality of your behavior, of your emotions, the quality of your behaviors. And it doesn't mean that someone has gone mad. Mental health can be good, it can be bad. At every point in time, some of us struggle with our mental health. Some days you're moody, some days you're not productive, some days you feel low mood, some days you're anxious, right? That means there is a tilt, right? But then when it becomes a challenge is when you are in that radar for a period of time, for a long period of time. And then that is when we can then say it's deteriorating into like a mental health disorder, which then needs to be clinically diagnosed, and which then needs a clinical intervention. But generally, mental health is the state of your mind, right? Is the state of your mind clear? Is it helping you? Are you able to function in day-to-day life? Is it impacting your productivity? Is it impacting how you're thinking? Is it impacting how you're relating with people? Is it impacting how you're you're relating with yourself, right? So, for example, when we talk about if you're not feeling yourself, so you cannot engage in what you normally engage in, you cannot go to school. For a child, for example, you're not able to concentrate in class, you're not able to focus and learn, then that child at that time is struggling with their mental health, no matter what the reason behind that is. And it can be different things for different people. So, for example, a child who is growing up in a toxic home, who is also always seeing their parents arguing and then sucking all of that in and not able to function in their day-to-day life, you can say that that child is struggling with their mental health. A child who has low confidence, always looking outside for validation, always, wanting to cling on people or please people so that they will accept them, because they don't accept themselves, because they don't feel confident in themselves. You can say that that child is struggling with their mental health, right? So you see, mental health is not as opposed to popular opinion in African communities, around, oh, mental health being that, oh, this child needs psychiatric evaluation and all of that. No, every day we meet people who are struggling with their mental health. You and I, we struggle with our mental health. When you feel burnt out, when you feel disconnected, when you cannot engage with work, when you don't, you see you're having mood swings and all of that. These are signs that your mental health is giving you. It could be a sign to rest, it could be a sign for self-care, it could be a sign, to just shut down and rejuvenate. This same thing happens to our children, and most times as parents we tend to minimize it because they are children. We tend to minimize it because we think, oh, children should not have anything they are struggling with, right? But they actually do, even though they don't know how to communicate it, they don't know how to say these things to us. This then calls for us being proactive to then show up for them and to then help them and to then give them the vocabulary to become self-aware, to tune in and know when to stop, know when to ask for help, know when to take a rest, know when to come to us, with the challenges that they are facing. Very, very important. Why is, this important, right? Why should we do this? Why should we be proactive with this? Why should we be proactive with understanding our children, equipping them with the mental strength, helping them become mental health aware? It's because it would help them to learn how to cope with stresses. It will help them to learn how to cope with things like peer pressure. It will help them to learn how to cope with things like academic challenges. When Irene spoke, she spoke about how children can really struggle when is during exam period and when there's, maybe major exam and all of that. Even the brightest of child will struggle with anxiety, which is a mental health challenge, right? When you're anxious. So when we understand that this is a real challenge, or when we understand that this is prone to happen, when we understand that this is what is happening with our children, right, we're now able to be proactive to then tune in and to check in with them emotionally and to check in with them to give them that moral and emotional support to navigate that anxiety that is happening to them with that challenge in that period of time. And if we have the skill, we can provide them with the tools and the skills. It can be mindfulness exercises, it can be deep breathing exercises. We provide them with these tools and the skills to help them navigate. But if we don't know what happens, your child is going through anxiety for the upcoming exam and you're still putting pressure on them. You're telling them, no, your mates are doing it, why are you delaying, why are you not going to school, why haven't you studied, why haven't you done that, why haven't you done that? Mounting pressure on them regardless of the anxiety they're already feeling internally, and then escalating the problem, right? So it's important that we're aware of what could happen and then we're equipped to show up and support our children. It encourages healthy problem solving skills, right? So And when it comes to facing challenges in life, like we have always said through the past 3 days, everyone who has come here has said, yes, your children will face challenges in life. They're gonna go into the world. That's how the real world works. But when we equip our children with the mental strength and we're having this conversation with them, we start to encourage them to be more curious, to think about the problems and to ask questions and to bring their mind into work and to make decisions. So Irene dwelt on that a lot. We then start to teach them how to think about their problems and how to process their thoughts about those problems and then how to look for solutions for those problems, right? And when we also do this, we are building their confidence, we are building their sense of self-worth, right? And we are preparing them to navigate into the world. We are giving them real-time skills to navigate, real-time skills to tune into themselves, to become aware of how they are feeling, to question those feelings and those thoughts and the behaviors or the actions that want to come from those thoughts, and then to make meaningful decisions that will help them, right? So regardless of what age your child is, there's a way that you can support them. Regardless of what age your child is, there is a way that you can support them, because your child goes through different phases of mental development, and each phase requires that you show up for your child in a specific way and you support them in a specific way. For example, in the early years, right, your child is going through what we call emotional development. That is when your child is learning to identify themselves, learning to identify and manage emotions, connecting with you as their caregiver. At that stage, right, your child, everything your child is taking is from you or from their primary caregivers as to how to respond, how to, how what is right and what is wrong, how to express themselves, right? So that early stage, you want to pay attention to your child's emotion. You want to help them, to give them that sense of safety in who they are, to give them that environment where they're able to express themselves, and then to show them how best to express themselves. So, for example, children would cry, right? So instead of shutting them down, which is primarily telling them that it's not okay to express yourself, it's not okay to express your sadness or your anger or your frustration, we have to be in that headspace where we know that at this stage these children are developing emotionally, and what we can do is to accommodate these emotions, meet them where they are, and then together show them how best to express themselves. So if your 2, 3, 4 year old is always crying when they're frustrated about something, instead of shouting at them, you want to meet them where they are. Okay, I see that you're frustrated, I see that you're angry, what is going on, right? And then you meet them where they are. What you have done for your child is that you have seen that you see them, you have validated how they feel, and you're meeting them where they are. And when you have met them there, you can then say, okay, next time when this happens, do XYZ, right? So, and you're now teaching them, can you say, daddy, help me with this? Can you say, mommy, help me with this? Instead of just crying, instead of just kicking, instead of just lashing out, right? And then you also want to give time for learning to happen. We talked about that yesterday, that when we teach our children, we want to give time for learning to happen, right? The next stage is that your child then starts to develop cognitively, right? As they grow and progress, they then come to the point of thinking, the point of problem solving, the point of looking within and becoming more aware of themselves. This is also a very critical stage, because children at this point tend to internalize a lot. They're at that point where they're trying to figure out, and they're also very curious, and the way we respond to their curiosity will determine how much they come to us, right? Because at this point they're finding a lot about themselves, they're getting a sense of themselves, they're having a sense of their own thoughts, and they're having a lot of questions that need clarification, right? So this is when even children are overwhelmed by their own thoughts and by their own emotions, and when they're able to bring it out as questions. But if we at this stage keep shutting them down, oh, you asked too much question, oh, where did you hear that from, oh, who told you that, we can make them shrink, so they go back into their shell, and then they don't have an outlet for these questions. What will happen is that they either internalize it and make sense of it by themselves, and we don't have a control of how they can think about their experiences if they're not telling us about them and we're not helping them make meaning of them. That's one way it can go. They'll internalize it, make sense of it themselves, and this can lead to massive, like if they internalize a lot, it can lead to a lot of things for them depending on how they're interpreting their experiences. It can also be that they start to speak to other people about it, they speak to peers about it, and we cannot also control who they're speaking about, who they're speaking to it about, and what the person is telling them and how this might play out, right? So, what am I saying here? Is important that we are aware of these different stages that our children are going through, and that we're showing up, and that we're present and we're ready to see them, to hear them, and to respond to them appropriately. So if they're coming to us with questions, I know that you're overwhelmed. I know that, I mean, the economic situation is dealing with everybody and you have all of these things you're doing, but we have to keep priority, right? We have to make sure that our children is at the top of that priority, and that we're present, with them. If you have been in our community, we talk about these things every time and every time, how you can show up and be present even in the midst of everything that you have to do as a parent. When Victor spoke, who was our first speaker, he talked about how the maximum time, or the time that you need to spend with your children in a week to build this connection is actually 3 hours a week, right? And you can be at home 24/7 every day of the week, but you're not spending that 3 hours quality time that is required to build that connection and build that trust, that level of trust with your child. So this is something we have to pay attention to. Then your child then grows into their teenage years, and their young adulthood years, and they start to get a sense of their social development. They start to connect with other people, so they have these experiences with peer relationship. They're learning socials, that the social skills are critical. They start looking outwards, right? So things like peers, things like social media, things like pop culture become things that that influence and impact them a lot, becomes where they draw their opinions from. So you also want to be in touch with that phase of life, with the questions that will come with that. If you have done the earlier years effectively, and you have built the right foundation, and you have built the right connection, and you're still staying present, right, it will be easier. And you have to be a flexible person, in the sense that there will be a time when there will be a clash of ideas, because your child is growing in a generation that you did not grow up in. So you also want to have that flexibility to have real time conversation, to have the hard conversation. The goal of being present, the goal of having this conversation, is to get into their head and to know what is going on in that head, and to know how best you can support them. If you're not having this conversation, you're not able to go into their head. You're not able to understand what their struggles are. You're not able to understand how they're interpreting these struggles. And if you don't understand, you cannot support them, right? So it's really, really important that we are present, right? So please let me know what you're learning. I think I've been talking a lot. Let me know what you're learning before I progress, and I will speak about what could happen if your child, if you're not present, if you're not showing up, and if your child is not developing this mental strength that is required to navigate the challenges that might threaten their mental health, right? So let me know in the chat what you're learning. Thank you, Rebecca. We need to be accessible and keep our children at the top of the priorities. Very, very important. So if you see, this is what could happen, right? If you are not equipping your child with this mental health, remember what we're talking about. You need to equip your child with the mental strength that they need to navigate through life so that their mental health is not at risk, right? What When you don't do this, number one is that what will happen is that your child will not be an emotionally regulated individual, because you have not followed through, because you have not equipped them, because you have not taught them, you have not followed through that their emotional, their cognitive, and their social development. You have not equipped them through that process of, learning how to manage their emotions, learning how to think, learning how to engage with people, with information, and with outside influences. What will happen is that your child will not, for example, have the capacity to manage their emotions. They cannot manage pressures. They would react impulsively, right? They will not be resilient, right? Because you have not equipped them. They will not be resilient. They cannot. And what it means to be resilient, like we have talked about, is the ability to bounce back. So there are instances in life where life would push you down, right? There are instances in life where the challenge will be too big and it will overwhelm you and it will break you and you will break down. But the resilience means how fast are you able to process that and then get up and keep moving, because failure can happen, right? Failure can happen to anyone, and failure is, what do you make out of the failure and how do you move on after that failure? Do you allow failure to just, keep you down? So for example, something happens and you feel depressed. Do you stay there depressed and say nobody should talk to me, I'm not coming out again, I'll cover myself with my blanket, and don't talk to me, I'm a failure, I'm done with this, I'm not doing again? Or do we sit down, process that, and bounce back? If you have equipped your child with the ability to problem solve, with the ability to think, with the mental strength that they require, what they will do is that, yes, this thing has happened, yes, I have failed at this, let me think about it. What did I contribute to this? How could I have done things differently? All right, how do I move on from here? Right? And that is what resilience looks like in, real life. um if you're not equipping your child with the mental strength that they need to navigate, they will not have self-discipline. They'll find it difficult to stick to goals. They'll find it difficult to delay gratification. They'll find it difficult to maintain focus, right? They will find it easy to be distracted, and this predisposes children to a lot of vices like drinking, like smoking, like womanizing, things that will take them down the path of mental breakdown, that will take them down the path that we don't want them to take, right? So how are we equipping our children right now to be self-disciplined, to have the mental strength to stick through a task and to finish a task even when they don't feel like it? How are we teaching them to prioritize things that are important and equipping them to follow through? How are we teaching them to delay gratification, or is it that whatever they want, we just give it to them? Now it might look like there is nothing, it's not a problem, right? But if we're doing that, that when your child asks for anything, you just give it to them, we're not processing if it's a need or a want. We're not processing if we can use this opportunity to teach delayed gratification. What you're teaching your child is that when they want something, they will get it. Then when they go into the real world and they want something and they don't get it, they break down. Or when they go into the real world and their mind, their emotions and their feeling is just telling them, you need to get this thing, they will just get it without thinking if that is a good thing or a bad thing, if that is the right time or the wrong time. So it's very, very important. And another thing that, teaching your child mental strength or not teaching them mental strength will do is that you will not cultivate a child that is optimistic. You will not cultivate a child that has a positive mindset. You will not cultivate a child that is hopeful, right? And optimism is not being oblivious of, you know, of reality. Optimism is just that you have a positive outlook about life, that yes, things might be hard, but I would be positive about it. So really raising children who have a positive outlook, that and that's the growth mindset, right? Like, yes, I don't know this yet, but I'll still keep trying, or I'm not there yet, I'll still keep working hard, or I didn't get this, okay, I'll try again to get that. And optimism helps a child to stay resilient, to keep on trying and trying and trying. And Irene talked a lot about self-awareness. This is one of the things. If we are not showing up and teaching our children this mental strength, they will not be self-aware. They will not know their strengths and weaknesses. And one of the things of about knowing your strengths and weaknesses is that you can prepare for them. When you know your weaknesses, you can plan ahead of time to avoid the pitfalls of those weaknesses. And these are things we need to teach our children. And I know you have been listening to me and you're wondering, what do I do? How do I start? There's a lot of information over the past 3 days. We have shared so many information with you. We have shared so many resources. We have shared so many tips, so many strategies. Where do I start from? I'd say that, as with everything, and as I would always say to everyone, parenting, raising children, whatever you want to put in your children, be it mental strength, be it discipline, be it resilience, whatever we want to do or whatever we want to put in our children, it starts with us, right? Remember what we said, that parent and children do not do what we tell them to do, they do what they see us do, right? So first of all, we have to become, and that is the journey of parenting, becoming. I would say that, yes, I've done a lot of things. I've gone through healing, I've done therapy and all of that. But one of the most things that has, had most impact on me in my journey of healing as a human being is having children. Because every time I look at them and I say, I want to become better, every time I see a piece of me or a part of me that I do not appreciate, a part of me that I do not want to pass on to them, it's a reminder for me that I need to work hard to change this part of me so that I can show up as a better human being for my children, so that they can see an example of what it means to be a better human being. So, in everything that I have said, if you're asking yourself, where do I start? The first place to start is to become, right? Which is a journey, right? But you can make that decision right here and right now to say, I would become a parent who is walking this journey of healing, a parent who is growing their capacity for mental strength, a parent who is emotionally aware, a parent who is resilient, so that my children can see and also become, my children can see and emulate. Then you want to be very, very conscious, very, very proactive, very, very, diligent with creating the right environment for your children, with creating a safe space. So, what is it about your family? What kind of family are you creating? You have to ask that question right now and now. What kind of family am I creating? This kind of family, is it raising mentally strong children? Is this kind of family raising children who are mentally healthy? Is this kind of family a place where my child's mental health is protected and is safe and is being nurtured? And environment is not just physical environment. It's not just the house that you live in. It's not just the building that you live in. It's the culture of that home. It's the conversation that happens in that home. It's the value that runs in that home. It is how we treat each other in that home. It is how we speak to each other in that home. It is, are we listening to each other in that home? It is the information we allow into that home. It is the people that we allow into that home. I live in the UK, so I don't have, people don't visit people in the UK, not very often. But when I was living in Nigeria, right, there are people that cannot come into my house because of their vibe, because of who they are, right? I would meet you outside. If you're coming into my city, I wouldn't mind. I will pay for a hotel for you. But because I have two amazing children that I'm raising, and because I know the values I want to expose them to. I know the conversations I want to expose them to. I know the environment I want to expose them to. I know the mindset that I want to expose them to. There are people that I will not allow into my home, right? So think about the home that you're creating. Who are you allowing? What information are you allowing? What culture is running that home? What are the values that are running that home? How do we treat people in that home? Think about it. And then think about, how am I equipping my children? Right? So you must create the right environment. And I have expanded on environment. It's not just the physical environment. And then you must equip. Right. So how am I equipping my children in my day-to-day interaction with my children? How am I equipping them to make sure that they're growing in their awareness, in their self-awareness? How am I making sure that they're becoming resilient? How am I making sure that, they have a strong sense of discipline? How am I making sure that I'm equipping them to thrive in the world that they would find themselves into? And all of this is a journey. So there is a journey that you have to walk through, the journey of where you are now and to the journey of raising this child. Whatever you have taken out of this whole conference and have put into a definition of what it will look like to raise a mentally strong child. There is a journey that you need to go, and that journey starts from here and now, where you are today, to when you eventually see the manifestation of this vision that you have created based on everything that you have learned in the past couple of days, right? So my question is, what I want to share with you is that there are three things that can happen from point A to point B, right? From where you are today to when you eventually finish with active parenting. Because remember, parenting is a project, right? And there's an expiry date. Yes, you would always be your children's parent, but you will not always be the one they are listening to. Active parenting happens in the first 18 years of your child's life. When they leave your house and they go to university and all of that, your influence over them reduces, and then they become their own person and all of that. So we have to make maximum use of that first 18 years, which is active parenting time. So in this journey, regardless of what age your child is now, so if your child is 10 years, that means you have 88 years. If your child is 15 years, that means you have 3 years of active parenting remaining. So between where you are now and to when you want to eventually say, okay, my child is now ready to be sent into the world, there are three things that can happen, right? So the first thing that can happen is that you can go through that journey and end below the mark, where you actually have not equipped your children with the skills that are necessary, with the mental strength that is necessary for them to function and thrive in the world. Anybody can survive in the world. People are surviving using different means, in many ways. So people are surviving. People are using alcohol to survive. People are addicted to many things. True, young people are addicted to many things and surviving. Young people have different vices and they're surviving. So anybody can actually survive, right? But we don't want our children to survive. We want our children to thrive, right? So this can happen. It can be that you go through this journey, you do your best, but then you don't hit that mark where you say, I'm equipping, I feel confident that my children, have what it takes to actually, thrive as I'm sending them into the world. The second thing that can happen is that you can be up and down, where, you're doing your best, you're here now. That is a good sign because you want to do your best, right? You can leave this conference and a few things happen and you forget about what you have learned and you go back to your old pattern, and then maybe you come across us again, you come up again, you learn that, after a few couple of months you fall back into your old pattern, and up and down and up and down and up and down, and eventually you get there and you're still able to raise, children who will thrive in the world. Don't get me wrong, anybody can do that, right? We're all going up and down and up and down. anyways. So anybody can do that, and this can happen. This second line is really what happens to many people. You know, you go up and down, you learn, you adapt, you do what you can, and you still eventually raise these amazing children, and that is good, right? But then there is a third option, which is even better than the second option. That's just third option is that this journey doesn't have to be very tough, right? It doesn't have to be up and down, up and down. And even if it's up and down, up and down, it can be easier. And what makes it easier? What makes it easier is that you have the information, you have the resources, you have expert guidance, you have a community of parents, a family, not just a community, a village of parents who have the same shared values with you and who want to go on this journey with you. You have experts who are there to hold your hand, who are there to ask your questions in your down moments and to pull you up faster than you would have pulled yourself up on your own. And this, it makes the journey really, really easier, and it helps you still achieve this goal of raising the kind of child that you want to raise without it being very difficult. And that is what we want to provide for you. We want to provide that community. We want to provide that expert help. We want to provide that guidance that would help you, to make this journey easier than it would have been if you were doing it on your own by default, right? And that is why after this conference, we're not leaving you alone. We want to make sure that we help you, gather this information together in a well thought out way, in an organized way, and to help you break them down into actionable and implementable plan that you can take as you head into 2025 or into 2025 and say, this is what I'm working on this month. This is what I want to see this month. This is what I want to achieve this month. So that by this time in 2025, you can look back and say, actually, this is where we started and this is where we are now. This is what we have done and this is what we have achieved. I can see it. I can see the result. It is tangible. We have put this together after this conference, a 30 days implementation plan where we will work with you over the course of 30 days with activities, action, worksheets, right? And then weekly calls with myself, right? Give me the opportunity to come into your life personally, and you will not regret that. And when you join that, you have access to 10 of my courses, right? Recorded courses. You have access to 3 of my ebooks and other amazing resources that would help you on this journey. If you join the 30 days implementation plan, you get access to this bundle for free as an extra for joining the 30 days implementation plan. If you don't join the 30 days implementation plan, you can still get this bundle at the cost that you're seeing it on the screen, which is the value is at 200,000 naira, but you can get it at 40,000 naira if you don't join the implementation plan. This is a Black Friday bundle sale, right? And here is what it takes to join the implementation plan. The value is at 400,000 naira in $197, right? The offer that is going on right now is at 100,000 naira, and that is $47, right? But there is a catch. If you're able to join between now and Tuesday next week, you can get everything, the implementation plan and the course bundle, everything with the weekly calls with me at 50,000 naira only, or $30,000, right? And we have the link in the chat. Cheers. So if you're listening to me, please put the link in the chat so that people who can join can join. When you're checking out from that link, if you want to get it at 50,000 naira, use the promo code PSA 2024, and that will give you the discount and bring the price to 50,000 naira. If you encounter any challenge in the course of doing this, please send me a message, send me an email, or if you're in the community, drop a chat in the community. We don't want to leave you hanging. We don't want you to do this and struggle and struggle and struggle, fall back and come back. We want to provide the expertise. We want to provide the resources. We want to provide you with the support. We want to provide you with the community as well to navigate, this journey, so that at the end of the day, the outcome will be that we have raised mentally strong children, and the children we're sending into the world, we're confident that we have equipped them with what it takes to navigate, um, in the world that we're sending them into. Thank you. If you have any questions, please ask me. I'm still here to answer your questions. And if you like to join us on this journey, please, you're welcome. By all means, we would love to have you in our thriving community. We have amazing parents in our community who are saying amazing things about the work that we do. And if you know me very well, you know that I I aim to always over deliver, right? I give more than I say I'll give. So if I say that this is what I'm going to give, I'm probably going to give way more than that. This is something that I'm very, very passionate about, and I'm passionate about seeing children thrive. And I will do all that I can to make sure that every parent has what it takes to help their children to thrive. And we have been doing this over 8 years, and we have been consistent in what we're doing, getting better with the years, and we want you to come in and to join us. What of parents with kids in boarding house? Sheila, whether your child is in boarding house, whether your child is abroad, we have something for you. We would give you an implementation plan that suits your peculiar needs. We'll give you an implementation plan that suits your family dynamics. We'll give you an implementation plan that suits the age of your children. So it doesn't matter if your child is in boarding house, it doesn't matter if they're studying abroad, it doesn't matter if you get to see them once in a while, it doesn't matter if they're teenagers or they're young children. This will work for you. It is you focused, really. It is you focused. It's not about what the child will do or what the child will not do. It's more about what you will do and then how you bring the child in. So it is you focused. Do we have any other question? Any other question before we call it a day? So if you are not on our email list, please aim to be in the email list. If you are not in our community, please aim to be in our community. Whether you join the 30 days implementation plan or not, be in the community. We have amazing resources. We share information, every now and again, very often, that would help you navigate your journey as well. So please drop your questions in the chat, and as I wait for the questions.
Hello, my name is Tochi Opara. This is my 8th year being a mom. And one day somebody said to me, I love the way you speak to your children like they're adults. Man, I laughed. But I can tell you for free that I wasn't always like that. In fact, as a first-time mom, I was living a life of default. But from the moment I encountered Dr. Vivian, enrolling in the Vivian Okoye Academy, and also attending Parent Summit Africa, things changed a whole lot for me. I became a more conscious and intentional mom. I began to understand exactly the way to connect and address the child I have in front of me. Like she always says, it's all about understanding the child you have in front of you. We just bonded better, and even to discipline. In fact, there are so many things I can outline, so many benefits that I can outline since I encountered Dr. Vivian. And now that the Parent Summit Africa 2024 is around the corner, you should register, because I'm sure you want to raise a mentally strong child.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vivian. You have been a great source of support and inspiration to me. Learning from you has taught me a lot over the years. You have truly made me a better father and parent for my kids and entire family. I took my first course with Dr. Vivian's Parental Academy in July 2021. That's Ultimate Parenting Bundle, and it was amazing. And that was after following her on Instagram for a while. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, ma'am, for all you do and for the impact that God is bringing to families through you. God bless you and fulfill His purpose for your life in Jesus' name. I look forward to this summit and I know that it's going to be a blessing to everyone. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Phoebe. I live in Nigeria. I'm a mom to 3 adorable children. My first encounter with Dr. Vivian and Parent Summit Africa was sometime in 2017, just when I was about joining the parenting journey, and I must say it has been very phenomenal. I like the fact that Dr. Vivian is very straightforward, very relatable in her classes. She gets to hold your hand through a journey. In 2024, I joined her Parenting with Calm challenge, and it was a wonderful challenge. I recommend all parents I know to Parent Summit and to Dr. Vivian's program, because they are programs that are designed to help you navigate through your parenting journey.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Mr. Lawrence Kelechi, and I'm a father to 2 amazing children. Prior to when I met Dr. Vivian, my parenting experience was a struggle. I struggled as a parent. It was overwhelming, something I had not done before. I had a vague knowledge about. All I knew was how I was being trained. That was just all I had. I had a lot of disconnect with my son as at the time. I never understood how children communicate. So whenever my son throws tantrums, whenever he cries excessively and all, I just get so overwhelmed. A lot of times I'll have to spank him, I'll have to shout at him, I'll have to walk out of the room when I feel that the excessive crying was disturbing. It's, regrettably, I had to do all of that. I had a lot of fear if I was going to be a good dad, if I was going to be a great dad. I wasn't patient with my son at the time. All right, a lot of time he cries a lot, and then does some things that made me feel that he had anger issues. Not until when I met Dr. Vivian, a friend of mine introduced me to Dr. Vivian, and then I became a part of the Parenting with Calm community. And then I attended Dr. Vivian's weekly trainings. That was just the game changer for me. I had a lot of eureka moments. I got to understand how to communicate with my son. I got to understand how these children try to express their feelings. Sometimes they do it through crying, through throwing tantrums and all. And then I had to understand how to handle those moments. Those fears are gone just because I met Dr. Vivian, and then I got to learn these simple, basic things. Today, I have this amazing bond with my children. It's so amazing.
How
It's
children
obvious.
are raised
People tell me,
today
wow,
as compared to how we were
the
raised in
connection.
the past. Parents are now concerned about screen time, concerned about how children use social media or how their children interact with tech devices around them. My name is Frederick Namdi. I am a tech YouTuber and educator. My organization works with schools to offer digital literacy education to children, promoting personal well-being through technology. And it's quite an honor to be talking to you today, all thanks to Dr. Vivian. And I believe that we're learning so much from this online summit so far. I'm going to be talking about how you can boost your child's mental well-being and self-confidence using digital literacy. Now, I'm going to bring a scenario that I've experienced a couple of times in class. Now, in these schools that we work with, we usually ask that the children come with their own tablets or laptops so that they can be able to actually use their device and take it home and show their parents what they did in school. Now, there's this set that will come with theirs, and then there's this other set that won't come with theirs. And when you ask the people that didn't come, you hear two things, either of two things. My mommy said I'm going to spoil it, or I do not have. In the course of the class, we do even tell them to pair with the ones that have, but you notice a kind of response from the ones that did not come. They are more, lost in the class, or kind of feel intimidated by those ones that already has, because you see those ones that has, they are super excited, they are willing to do whatever thing you want them to do, they are just all geared up for the class. Now there's another thing I noticed. Maybe we are teaching Canva design for using Canva to design any form of graphics, maybe birthday. Then we ask, how many of you have ever used Canva before? You see this particular child or children that will be like, yes, I've used it, my mommy taught me, yes, I know how to use it, I did this. Their interaction in class and their confidence in class when compared to the ones that don't know is always different. They are eager to ask questions, they are eager to answer questions. So you can see how keeping your child away from digital literacy or equipping them with a tech skill is already impacting their confidence in class. And of course, children, once they feel they don't know like every other person, it begins to enter into their mind. You should know that digital literacy is a must for your child because it is going to help nurture these 3 essential life skills in your child. The first one is creativity. In creativity, if compared to how we were raised, if you want to know a creative child in the 90s, it's only children that can draw with their hands, like I used to draw on the ground, or mold things, or just do some, or go get straight A's in school. But today, a lot of children now have smart devices. If you're going to now test, a test of creativity is now on what children are able to produce using technology. So you don't want your child to be left behind while every other child is, moving forward. I always ask parents this: if your child is put in a room full of children from different parts of the world, does your child has the strength to compete with them? Can your child still speak? If they're talking about HTML, if they're talking about Python, if they're talking about Canva, if they're talking about video editing, if they're talking about animation, Maya, mentioning all of these things, will your child stay like this and look at them? And trust me, it is actually affecting their mental well-being and also their self-confidence. Now, the second thing I talked about was problem solving. Now, problem solving is just about how children are going to be able to leverage digital skills to carry out tasks, perform, solve problems. Digital literacy helps them to actually learn about the skills or the tools that they can use to leverage all of those devices, the tablet, the laptop, the smartphone around them, to be able to get things done. Right? And then lastly, I talked about resilience. Resilience is now about how are they going to be able to stay in one thing on their device until they actually complete something. Now, this is where I would like to encourage your child, or encourage you to get your child to actually play video games. Now, there's a huge clause to this, but some video games actually helps your child in acquiring problem solving skills and also resilience. All right, so resilience, creativity, and problem solving are essential life skills that digital literacy helps to nurture your child on. I've said a lot of things, and probably you're beginning to think, Frederick, what do we do? All right, if you're in that boat, now this is the juicy part of another juicy part of what I've said, because everything I've said, it should be juicy, right? I mentioned the organization that I run and co-founded, by the way, and it's called Smartphone Productivity Club. Now, you might hear smartphone and you think that we teach the children about smartphone, but yes, it's also about equipping your child with tech skills or the digital literacy required to actually make effective, productive, and responsible use of their smartphone. Yeah, if your child owns a laptop, it's also good. If a child owns a tablet, it's also great, or an iPad is also great. It's all about what digital literacy. Now, there are a few things you need to know about our program. All right, so our program is designed to boost your child's confidence. All right, we designed a curriculum that can help foster creativity and as well mental well-being. We are trying to build your child to stand in any platform and compete with any child of their age for the sake of maintaining or fostering global relevance. And guess what? Because you are attending this program, Dr. Vivian has just secured you 30 whopping % discount if you wish to enroll your child in our program. Now, there are a few things you need to know. Number one, we're going to offer free consultation. We're going to offer free time with you to learn about your child, because we believe that there is always the right tech skill based on the potential or the natural disposition of your children. We don't actually encourage every child to go and learn how to code. We also say you can learn animation, you can learn graphics, you can learn web design, you can learn any other skills based on what the child loves. Because I always say this to kids: no matter what you actually become, no matter if you're becoming a doctor, if they grow into engineer, if they grow into whatever, if they do not understand or know the technology that applies to that field, then AIs, okay, robots can easily replace them. So this is why ensuring that your child learns a tech skill today while they are still young, we do two things. Number one is going to help them to be responsible, because they now have a good knowledge or well educated on how to use their devices productively. We're going to also equip them with skills that will help them use their devices to improve on their education, just as we are also equipping them with essential digital skills to help them achieve global relevance. At Smartphone Productivity Club, we ensure that your child's mental well-being is intact, and also that we are boosting their confidence, such that whether they are in their classroom or anywhere in the world, they maintain a very high self-esteem.
Thank you for joining. And this brings us to the end of Parent Summit Africa 2024. We're going to collate all of the recordings. We're going to send them across to you. Please, if you're not on our email list, like I mentioned, all you need to do is to find the link, the registration link for the summit, and register so that you come into our email list, and we're able to send out all the resources from myself, from the speakers, the replay links. We'll send them across to you. And please, if you are trying to join for the 30, excuse me, if you're trying to join us for the 30 days implementation plan, um please send us a message if you have any challenge. I will drop my WhatsApp number in the chat now, right? So please send us a chat if you run into any problem, because I see someone who has just said that the the promo code is not working. The promo code is PSA 2024. That is what you need to put when you have gone into the checkout. That is what you need to put in to be able to check out and get the discounts that brings the price from 100,000 or $47 to 50,000 or $30 for you. And this promo ends um at midnight on Tuesday. Yeah, midnight on Tuesday. So you want to try that right away. If it passes midnight Tuesday, it goes back to the original price, which is $47 and 100,000. And after some time, it goes back to the original price, which is 400,000 and $197. So you want to take action right away. If I'm you, I would take action right away. And then all the best with whatever you decide to do, and see you on the inside. Hopefully, I look forward to working closely with each and every one of you. Thank you again. Thank you for making Parent Summit Africa 2024 a success. It wouldn't have been a success without you. If you didn't show up, we wouldn't have had an event. If you didn't register, we wouldn't have had an event. So thank you for showing up, for showing up for yourself, for showing up for your children, and for showing up for your family. Thank you. God bless you. Bye.
What we do with Parent Summit Africa is to help parents experience an awakening, an awakening that will cause them to take a part to creating a change in themselves individually, as well as commit to raising a wholesome 21st century child. And as we do this collectively, we are building the kind of society that we want to see. Our mission with the Parent Summit Africa is to create a platform that equips parents with the skills, strategies, and resources for self-transformation and raising wholesome children. Our vision is to effect social and societal change through parenting education, especially to change the narrative of Africa and the African child. Hi, my name is Vivian Okoye. I'm the convener of Parent Summit Africa. I'm a certified child psychologist, a parent coach, and a trained doctor of optometry. Parent Summit Africa is powered by our online parenting school, the Vivian Okoye Parenting Academy. We started Parent Summit Africa in 2017 to gather parents from all over the nation and beyond to start up relevant conversations around raising a wholesome 21st century child, as well as thinking about our contribution to sustainable development and nation building. We do this because we believe that at this point, our plan as a nation for sustainable development should shift its focus from just systems, institutions, and policies to actually creating a plan and strategy for a change in the attitude and mindset of its people. Because the people drive these institutions, the systems, and the policies. So if on an individual level, we're able to get it right with our attitude and our mindset, then we can drive the institutions and policies in the right direction. Until we are able to do this, until we're able to create change in attitude and mindset on an individual level, then we will not experience any tangible change.